He worked in many jobs before. He was the founder of many things before, like Alexandria.com, which was the first online aggregator, which was in the Middle East, which was the first in the Middle East, which earns him two nominations before, like the Young Entrepreneur nomination in 2005 and the Arab Technology Nomination Award in 2006. Welcome, Mr. Omar Soudodi.
Thank you.
First, let me ask you, what was the things that encouraged you to become an entrepreneur?
Well, I mean, early in my career, I started my career in the US as a banker, and for 10 years, along with the university, and then I have an identical twin brother who moved from California to Dubai, and you know, he kept insisting for a year, you have to come, you have to come, you have to come. So I did go to Dubai. When I first arrived in Dubai, my last position in a bank in the US was vice president in a commercial bank, and it was on my resume, and every time I applied for a job and I go to an interview, they say, you're lying. You cannot be a vice president, you're too young. And I felt like, you know, I didn't leave the US, I didn't leave a very good position to come to the Arab world and just, you know, be employed again. And I felt like I really needed to start something. I went to the UAE in a very opportune time where there was a huge boom of the real estate sector. Banks were getting into mortgages, and I felt like, how can I leverage my experience that I've had in the past, you know, and align it with a current opportunity. And then one day I was driving, and my brother was dropping him off at work, and then I was working part-time consultant for a bank in the UAE, and then it hit me that I want to start, like you said, an online aggregator for mortgages and for auto loans and for credit cards. As a matter of fact, when it hit me, I was so distracted that I ended up on the curb of the street with the car. We were on the curb for brief moments, and then after that, it was very clear to me that this is what I want to start.
Okay. And through all your journey in entrepreneurship, you've been through a lot of memories. What was the memory that has a special place in your heart?
Usually the early memories are the best ones because they're all new to you. And the first big memory that I have was with the nomination of Young Entrepreneur in 2005. It earned me a speaking event in Entrepreneurs in Dubai, which was attended by around 2,000 delegates. Some of the speakers was John Edwards, was running for vice president in the US, and Roddick, the CEO of The Body Shop, the CEO of EasyJet, a list of CEOs around the world, a list of really strong entrepreneurs. And because I was one of the nominees of the Young Entrepreneurship Award, I was able to actually go up and talk to the audience about Arabia and the business model and what should be done before it even started. Of course, when I went up there, I thought, you know, I'm going to raise capital and somebody's going to, you know, after the speech will get me and, you know, write me a check for $1 million to start the company, but it wasn't as easy. But it did give me access to all of these speakers that attended the event because I had this pass that said speaker on it, so I can actually go into the green room where they sit, which I did every time before any speech. I used to go and wait for Anita Roddick or, you know, the founder of Mrs. Fields. The real challenges and telling me if your parents are going to be against you, your family's going to be against you, your friends are going to be against you, and so forth. So for me, that was a very, you know, I was very fortunate to have that experience.
Okay. And being involved in business and entrepreneurship, how this affects your relationship with family and friends?
It minimizes the relationship with family and friends. I mean, usually when you become an entrepreneur, you live you live your project, you live your dream. So sometimes it comes on the price of, you know, spending more time with family and more time with friends. Of course, I try as much as possible to spend time at least with my family, and of course with friends, you know, you see them still in weddings and engagements and Eid vacation and so forth. But it definitely, you know, kind of kills your social life, which is, I think, is a little price to pay for, you know, if you want to start something new.
So mentioning the relationships and these stuff, how would this affect you as Omar Soudodi? Entrepreneurship affects you as a person?
It affects me. I think it gives me energy. Every time when someone tells me, "Oh, this cannot be done. We can't do this. We cannot achieve this," I think it brings something. It turns on something inside of me that says, "No, I think we can do this. We just need to think about it. We need to think of it, how it can be done, what are the challenges." But you need to break down the challenges. A lot of people sometimes with any entrepreneur, myself or any other person, when they come up with an idea and they pitch it to friends and family and even investors, people will say, oh, it's not going to work. And in the beginning, we always find that as an entrepreneur that maybe they're right. But what I've learned is that when you ask someone, why do you think it's going to fail, 90% of the times they don't have a rebuttal or a reason why this company would fail or the idea would fail. They just think it would fail based on an opinion, not based on the fact. So 90% of those, the feedback that I got was basically, just disregarded. The only time that I really took feedback to heart is when someone told me the reason why it would fail.
So this could be as your toughest feedback you've ever got?
No, I got a lot of feedback. So when the people when they give you constructive feedback, you take it and then you go and you study it. For example, when I was starting Alexandria, I had an advisory board, and one of them was head of corporate banking for Dubai Islamic Bank, and he told me, banks have what they call direct sales agents, that they come to your house and they take the application. So what would be the benefit of the bank of doing this? So we went and studied the cost of a DSA on the bank, and how much does it cost them, and how long do they train them, and how long do they stay in the company, and so forth. So eventually it turned out that Accelerator was a much better acquisition tool for them rather than a DSA. For the first 3 months when we launched the site in the UAE, we got, National Bank of Abu Dhabi has the largest branch network in Abu Dhabi. They submitted 500 loan applications, 2 of them were approved. We submitted a channel for them to acquire new customers when applying for a mortgage. The toughest feedback is always from investors. Some investors, maybe they don't like you, maybe they don't like your idea that much, but they did some work and they did some due diligence. But when it comes to really, giving you the money, they always come up with weird excuses, or not excuses, but their argument would be sometimes weak. For example, they'd say, yeah, but what is the barrier to entry? I mean, it's internet. There are no barrier to entry. Of course, there's no barrier to entry. So if they really jump on what's the barrier to entry, or what is this, and what is this, and what is it, little things that don't really make sense, sometimes it tells me that they shouldn't be an investment banker. Because in the Arab world right now, we don't have enough venture capital firms that could make our ecosystem when it comes to entrepreneurs a mature one. Because if you look at Silicon Valley, if I have a winning idea and I have 60 or 70 venture capital firms that I could visit, and I knock on every single door, and I meet with them, they know if I leave without getting a commitment from them, I will go to another venture capital firm that day and I could sign with them on the spot, and that's what's happening. And I think when we have that maturity in terms of venture capital and angel investors and so forth, and entrepreneurs having access to capital, this is when you really you see that a huge uptick, not only in Egypt but in the Arab world.
So getting into many jobs before, what's the reason of your success?
Getting into many jobs, meaning?
You've been through a lot of jobs before?
I started early. I started working very young. I think my first venture was a candy stand. My twin brother and I, we had a candy stand in Agami. My mom had an Italian restaurant, and we used to buy candy wholesale and sell it in front of the restaurant. At retail prices, exuberant retail prices, where people did buy it because we were funny, and we had that, trying to get customers to the stand and buying stuff. And sometimes they'd say, I don't have money now, okay, come tomorrow, you pay us, and so forth. And I think, quickly that became part of my DNA, and I thank my parents for it, because they always included us in all of the projects they were doing, whether it was an import-export company, or my dad is designing, we're designing bags for the restaurant or anything. We were always involved, so it became part of, of my upbringing.
Okay. And being a general manager Egypt for Souq.com, what differentiates Souq.com from any other platforms, e-commerce platforms?
Well, Souq.com, first of all, we're the largest e-commerce platform in the Arab world. Right now in Egypt, we're ranked 49 as a website. In Dubai, we're ranked number 10. In Saudi Arabia, we're ranked 50. In Kuwait, we're ranked 37. So it's definitely the most split into 3 models, which is a managed marketplace, so you can sell a product if you want. And then, of course, we have retail, which Souq.com procures products from suppliers, from brands, and we turn around and sell it for a profit, as well as the deal of the day, or what we call retail promotions concept, where you come onto the site every single day to see what kind of deals do we have. So we have a hybrid model, and I think that's the reason of our success, because sometimes if as a company we can secure supply from a top-selling item, like Kindle, for example, does not exist in Egypt, and we can't source it because it doesn't exist in Egypt. However, we have marketplace sellers that do travel and bring 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 back from overseas, and they sell it on Souq.com. So it helps our customer having that range and that variety and whatever they're looking for. I mean, sometimes I would, ask myself, I'm looking for something completely arbitrary, and I go search for it on Souq.com. Usually I find it. So it helps customers finding what they want, as opposed to a small selection of consumer electronics or books, and the breadth gives us that power.
So what's the risk to still affected Souq.com?
This is the risk?
The risks.
Yeah, the risks with business every day. You have different kinds of risks. You have the business risk, of course, of how the company performs on a daily basis. How do you interact with your customers? How do you treat your customers? So we always constantly have to be very buyer-centric, which we are. Right now, not only Souq.com, but any company in the world doesn't really own its brand. People do, because of social media. If you have a good experience with Souq or a bad experience with Souq, you're going to tweet about it. You're going to put it on your Facebook. You're going to say, oh, I had a good experience, or I had not such a good experience. So we know that now, and we try to understand the customers. And when customers complain, we don't say, okay, this is what we've got. No, we really want to listen to them and turn them from what we call a brand terrorist that they leave at that point into a brand ambassador. So you can turn a very sad customer into a very happy customer. So that's more of an ongoing challenge, because in Egypt, e-commerce is still in its embryo phase. People don't really understand all the facets of e-commerce. There's a level of sometimes limited trust when they first buy from Souq.com. As a first-time buyer, we find it a lot with our buyers. Like, what do you mean you're going to send me an item and I'm going to pay cash for it, and then they're going to leave me? What if I want to return it? Like, yeah, okay, you can call us. You have 3 business days to return the item, with no questions asked. So in the beginning, when people start buying from Souq, there's a little bit of hesitation. But after that, we start seeing a lot of trust building, and we know that because of the amount of credit cards that people use on Souq. When we first started, it only represented 2% of the transactions in Egypt. Now it's over 25%. So that tells us that people are coming again and again and again and buying from Souq.com. Repeat buyers are around 40% and seek value. And of course, there are other kinds of risks. There are sector risks. If anything affects e-commerce by any shape or form, lack of consumer electronic supply, which sometimes happen because of customs, or companies can't get their products in as quickly as possible. In case of distributors, that happened in recent months. You have what we call political risks. People feel like, wait a second, life is going to end, and maybe I shouldn't buy that laptop today. Maybe I should, maybe I'll lose my job tomorrow. So usually there's a direct correlation between consumer confidence and political risks. If I feel like I'm going to lose my job tomorrow, I will not buy an iPhone. I probably might buy a much less expensive phone, because I don't know if I'm going to have a job or not. So these are the risks that we're always presented with, and we, alhamdulillah, we have a very good team in Egypt that have risen above the occasion. And at some point, when you don't have gas, we have no way to actually deliver products. So we've gone through all of these challenges.
And getting back to entrepreneurship, what is the most popular entrepreneurial advice that you don't disagree with?
Don't give up. It's every time there will be 100 reasons for someone to give up, and burn the boats. What Tariq ibn Ziyad did when they crossed Madi Kabul Tariq to Spain and to Portugal, he burned the boats because he only had 10,000 soldiers against maybe 100,000 soldiers. So he knew that the opportunity cost, or what if the soldier knows that, wait a second, I can go to the boat and not die, and maybe we can live to fight another day. He felt, no, khalas, this is not an option. The only way to go is forward. So I would really hope that entrepreneurs take that at heart, that the only way you go is forward. If you fail, you want to fail, but you can say that I've given 100% or 200% of my effort, my skill, my resources, everything, then you will not regret it. If you know that in your heart that you didn't give it the most you have, you will regret it.
And finally, what is the entrepreneurial advice that you advise them not to do?
I think, I think Omar said that, is that we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. And I think this is so we can listen twice as much as we talk. And a lot of the young entrepreneurs sometimes have a lot of passion about their idea, a lot of passion about where they want to go, but sometimes they really, when they sit down with someone who understands, or in the sector, or maybe in their sector, or from a different sector that complements them, sometimes they don't really listen to the real objections and the real challenges, and usually business sense on Excel. But when it comes to the real world, it's different. So what I give advice to them is that it's okay to have a lot of assumptions in your business plan, but it's also good to come after 3 months after you launch and say, okay, the assumptions that I've had, are they true? Did they really materialize or not? I mean, if I assume that it will cost me $4 to acquire a customer, and it's costing me $20 to acquire a customer, so maybe I should change my business plan to $20 and then find ways of how I can reduce the cost to $4 or $5. So I think we manage less by emotions and more by facts.
Thank you, Mr. Omar Soudodi. We were honored by this interview.
Thank you.